Welcome to Titans for Life. Today, we'll be talking Mason Kinsey. Whether we're fans or there are facts to back up what I've been saying about Mason Kinsey and how Mason Kinsey fits within the Titans offense. Stay tuned. Welcome to Titans for Life. My name's James, and we're a member of the Titan Upload Network. I want you to always remember to be nice down below. We're going to be talking Mason Kinsey. If someone doesn't understand something or something doesn't make sense to you, just write in the comments down below. We'll clear it up a little later. We're going to be talking about several different people who've made comments, including some Nashville media who have been derogatory toward Mason Kinsey and derogatory toward some of the comments that have been made positively about Mason Kinsey and his role with the Titans. And we're going to be discussing all of that. But remember, always be nice. I'm going to try to be as nice as I can. I don't like pointing out specific people, but in this particular case, I'm going to have to probably name one who's been particularly critical of Mason Kinsey, and we're going to be working on trying to dispel that person's problems with Mason Kinsey. So now it's time, as always, to keep it real. Keeping it real, Mason Kinsey's been kind of held back over the last little bit because of how the Titans offense is kind of constructed. Their roster on their offense is kind of constructed. It's very run heavy. The value for receivers is a little lower than most other teams and most other offenses just because of how they're constructed. Their offensive line is constructed to run block and not really pass block as much, although they're effective at pass blocking when the play action is there. The play action pauses some things and stops some things when it comes to linebackers and them filling passing gaps and things like that. That's the reason why the Titans are very effective when they do decide to pass and to use the play action, is because it slows down certain aspects of the defense, because they have to be aware of where our running backs are, where Derrick Henry is, where the king is at all times, because if you're not aware of what he's doing and where he's at all the time, he's gonna rip one off for 40 or 50 yards, and then you're behind the eight ball as a defense. So offensively, we tend to focus more on that as opposed to throwing the ball, spreading the ball out, and then running the ball. The Titans have constructed their offense that way. So that's kind of held some things back from Mason and his ability to get on the field and his ability to make the starting lineup and his ability to do some things like that. It's just the style of offense the Titans play. It's not has to do with any of his abilities or his skill sets. We'll start off with quickness. His first and second steps are, just smooth and sudden at the same time. Lots of times what you'll get with receivers is they'll be sudden, but they'll be herky-jerky, or they'll be smooth, but they'll be slower getting off the line. That's not a problem with Mason. That was, Mason worked on that very hard coming out of college, getting his smoothness and his speed up. And this can make his blocking superb because he's so sudden with his quickness that his hands come up very fast. Their placement is very, very good. He has he is constantly and consistently improved to a point where his size is almost not a factor anymore. He's so strong and so quick and so fast, and he's on you before you understand what's going on, that when he's blocking you or when he's running a route, is kind of you have to kind of guess. You have to really kind of guess as a defensive back what he's going to do and what he's doing, because he's so quick. That leads into his technique. His technique is and leverage is near perfect because he is kind of a shorter guy in the NFL. He is able to get under your pads. He's able to get to you and get up under your pads before you realize, oh, he's blocking, as opposed to, oh, he's running a route. These are because of how quick and deliberate each movement he has is. His movements are quick and deliberate, and it overpowers DBs because they're in a back pedal, or they're trying to bump him off the line. At which point, if he's blocking, you're especially if you're backpedaling, you're pretty much already out of the play. The second thing is that if he's running a route and you come up on him like that, and your hands are there, his hands are very violent, that you have a problem with putting your hands on him because he's so quick. By the time you get to where you can put your hands on him, if you're playing a man press type coverage, is that you can't put your hands on him. He's extremely difficult to put and keep your hands on him. DBs just simply aren't ready for his blocks when he blocks. So when he's blocking, you're not ready for it because you don't have time to get ready for it. The next thing is his work ethic. According to John Robinson, and I've watched several different things about John Robinson and what he said about Mason, and there was a broadcast preseason, the last preseason game, where he's talked about Mason Kinsey in particular. He said on national TV during a preseason game 3, he stated, quote, I'm going to read this, he's always working. And later he further elaborated, when the QBs need to throw during the off time, he's always there, no matter which QB or when they need him. So he's always there. The QBs are always working with him. They always, there are times where the QB needs to throw. Maybe he's not getting a throw right, or he's missing on a throw and he wants to work on it a little bit, and they don't have time to work on it in practice. They'll ask wide receivers to stay a little late, or they'll ask receivers to come out the next day or something like that a little early, or go somewhere and throw with him. And he's always one of the ones that they talk to. And John Robinson knows this because he sees it. Later on that same broadcast, J-Rob said Mason Kinsey is exactly what we want as a Tennessee Titan. This is the general manager saying, this is who we want. This is the kind of guy we want. This is who we value as a Tennessee Titan. And that's something strong, considering that they're not very big on wide receivers and keeping a bunch of wide receivers in the passing game, because they pass off of play action. Apparently, there's one guy in the national media who doesn't value this, who doesn't understand what these statements by John Robinson means. Yes, Mason Kinsey did not make the 53. I understand that. I know that. I get that. But there are reasons why, other than he just doesn't have the ability to play. John Robinson is stating, look, this is a guy who we want to keep, and we want to bring into the team, but we just don't have the space for him because, number one, they kept 5 running backs, which to me is kind of crazy, but whatever, maybe he has some kind of reasoning for that. But apparently Buck Rising doesn't think that he thinks that everybody who's rooting for and saying that Mason is a great player, a good player, is going to make the team eventually, blah, 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 blah. He thinks that we're all crazy. We're just fanboys. Well, I'm giving you, Buck Rising, some knowledge on why I'm thinking that you're wrong. Number 3, we're going to get into Mason has really, really, really good hands. I would say great hands. Some would say really, really good hands. When talking about Mason Kinsey hands, watch how he catches the ball. He catches the ball away from his body. It's always away from his body, which is exactly what you want. And it never gets into his pads until he tucks the ball away. That's exactly when you want to catch the ball away from your body with a triangle, which is standard wide receiver coaching 101. catch the ball away from your body, because when the ball hits your pads, it can bounce off. There are some players that are what they call body catchers. They catch the ball with their body, like, kind of like this. They let it get into their body. But when that happens, when you've got a particularly hard ball thrown, the ball has a tendency to bounce off of the pads, and then you end up bobbling the ball, gets thrown up or whatever when you get hit. Mason doesn't do that. He has very soft hands. His hands are so soft that it allows him to catch balls that other players probably would drop or could drop. His hands can be extremely violent, especially when you're coming up in man press. They're extremely violent. He's coming off. He's really pumping them hard. They're stronger than they used to be. When he's running routes, that's an attribute, because the corners that cover him can't really slap at it, because he's so strong upper body wise that he has the ability just to kind of play through that. That combined with his quick feet have really creates real disadvantages and problems for coverages. And not only coverages, but also when he's actually out there blocking and it looks like he's running around. It's problematic because DBs can't really adjust for that quickly enough, and it tends to throw the DBs off a little bit, which is the reason why when he usually gets open. There are times, of course, that he doesn't. The DB guesses right, gets in there, and it happens with the best wide receivers in the NFL. It's happened with the greatest of all time. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but he's going to win more than he loses, and he's going to win in those must-win situations. That's what we've seen. That's what he's put on film. That's what he's put on tape. That's what he's put out in practice. That's what everyone says. He's dependable. The next reason why is dependability. If the number one ability in NFL is availability, number two must be dependability. He's very dependable. When the ball's thrown his way, 90% of the time he catches it. He's dependable and he's available. So every single time that I've seen him out there, I say he has for his size, he has a tremendous catch radius for his size. And that makes him dependable. And John Robinson himself has attested to Mason's dependability. He's dependable. He's there. We can count on him. Anytime we need him to go in, he can go in. They just haven't had a evaluation of him at this point where they needed him to go in at a specific spot and let him perform. But what we have seen on film is that he does it, and he does it consistently. He's very consistent. He's getting more consistent as time goes on, but he's very consistent. QBs know they can get the ball to him when they need to. Mason is going to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. And that goes into the next reason why, number 5, which is knowledge, his knowledge of the game. Mason is always where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there. There are times where he gets to where he's supposed to be, when he's supposed to be there, and other players have ran the wrong route. He absolutely knows where he's supposed to be. He knows his position. He knows the options based upon the play of the defense. And the options that he has when it comes to where the coaches put him, right? This is something that if you follow the Titans closely enough and you follow football closely enough, it's just one of those unspoken things that players talk about and that coaches talk about. We don't go out and say a lot of things, as coaches don't go out and say a lot of things like, oh, he doesn't know where he's supposed to be. He's not in the play. That, we're talking, coaches talking generalities, those generalities are, he's not there yet. He's still work in progress. He's got to understand some things. Those types of things are what we say. We don't say, oh, he doesn't know the playbook. But with Mason, you never hear them say anything like that. Mason knows when other wide receivers actually are misaligned, miss their assignments, don't run the proper route. According to multiple sources, and I've talked to multiple sources about this, according to multiple sources, he often tells others, um, hey, hey, you ran the wrong route, or you were in the wrong space, or whatever, things like that, and explains to them what was the correct route or technique to use on this particular play. You'll see that kind of on the sidelines. It's one of the things that you don't see on TV, but if you go to the games and you go to these practices, you'll see them talking on the sideline. That's what that talking is about. That's what they're talking about. That's how they're doing things. And then it's brought up later in film room and things like that. But those are things that you don't see if you're not following and watching things that are going on and off the field. So those are things that the coaches have said, John Robinson has said, other players have come off and said, yeah, he's helped me tremendously. He's done this, he's done that. He showed me what I did wrong, things like that. The next thing is the storyline. And I want to say the storyline on this would be, it's just phenomenal. It just really is. And Buck Rising, who's in the media, who should know about storylines, who should know about these things. Buck Rising doesn't understand the storyline behind all of this, which would enhance the profile of the Tennessee Titans. The profile of the Tennessee Titans is, let's face it, in the national media, you see it all the time. It's not very good. Even when the Titans are really, really good, like last year, they're number one seed in the AFC, and their storyline was, well, yeah, they're the Titans, though. There's a feel-good storyline. Mason went to a small school, Berry College, worked on his craft for years with the Titans and the Patriots. Keep in mind, he was on the Patriots for a while. He is the definition of an underdog, which is a great storyline. Americans love underdogs. He wasn't heavily recruited by anyone coming out of high school, yet he is here in the NFL. He's in the NFL. And he is a part of a group of people who make up 1.2% of all college players. 1.2% of all college players make it to the NFL, and he's made it. Think of that. 71,000 players play college football. 71,000 play college football. And Mason Kinsey is one of 1.2% that make it. And if you want to think about that, he's even of a subset of that. The majority of those players that play, the 1.2%, come from big name colleges. Your Tennessees, your Texases, your Floridas, your Florida States, your Miamis, Clemson, Ohio State, Michigan, the big schools. He is one of the ones that comes from a very, very small school, but yet he's made it in NFL. He's making on the precipice of making an NFL team. Yes, he has things to work on. Yes, there are things that they're asking him to do that's really probably not in his wheelhouse, but he's still doing them. So Buck Rising, that's called a real storyline. That's called a storyline that can hit in the national media. A perseverance through all the trials and tribulations, all the things that have gone on, all the things that have tested his abilities and his faith, all those things, and he's still out there. He's still doing the grind. He's still doing the things that he needs to do to make this team. And I can tell you right now, the Titans love the guy. I can tell you they love him. They want him there. So, the Americans are captured by these things. Look at things like, movies like Rudy. I mean, one of the most popular football movies of all time is because it was a guy who just got out there and grind. He went out there every day, did his job, and grinded and grinded and grinded. It is a great story, and it's a story that Americans love and want to watch more of. But I think Mason has a lot of more talent than that story in itself. His story is that he is going at some point in time to make an NFL team. He has too much talent. NFL finds talent, and they're going to use that talent. He's going to make an NFL team. And it's because of all the things that I mentioned above, his quickness, his work ethic, his hands, his dependability, his knowledge of the game. And then, the storyline is just icing on the cake. It's just the cherry on top of that sundae of all the things that he does and can do and understands. So if I sound like a Mason Kinsey fan, well, I guess you're right. I am. I will always root for the underdog. I love the underdog. And most Americans love the underdog. And that's the reason why I guess I'm a Mason Kinsey fan, but I'm also doing it from a perspective of analytics, of analyzing his game and understanding what he's capable of, what he can do, how he can do it, and things like that. Is he a great guy? Absolutely. But nobody's going to keep just a great guy, out there and pay him what they're paying Mason Kinsey. No one's going to do that. It's just it's silly in the NFL. The coaches and GMs get fired for that mess. They're not gonna do that. So my question to Buck Rising is, yes, I'm a Mason Kinsey fan. Yes, several of us on the Tighten Upload Network are Mason Kinsey fans because of all of these reasons that we mentioned above and the fact that he is a great guy. My question to Buck Rising is, why aren't you a Mason Kinsey fan? And that's keeping it real right here on Titans for Life.